When you look around the world, but when you look particularly in this country, I mean, there is a desperate need for more ethical and principled leadership at all walks of life. It's become apparent to a lot of people that we really need to do some more systematic preparation, because we understand, we know that many of our graduates are going to assume leadership roles wherever they happen to be. And I think there's an obligation for law schools, and certainly we have assumed that obligation, at least to begin to prepare students better to assume those roles.
Leadership has many, many dimensions, and I think thinking about it and talking about it, as they are doing at Elon, can make their students aware as they go out into the communities that lawyers are expected to be leaders.
When we started talking about the Elon Law School, we started talking about what is it that we could do to make better lawyers coming out to start with. You know, we need people who will pull people together, who will get people to work together to try to elevate the common good.
The practice of law is a privilege given to lawyers by the people. It's not a right. And with that privilege comes, I think, obligations. And Elon, through various methodologies, is trying to impress upon its students these obligations.
Elon Law brings a new dynamic to the table of legal education. The skills that we traditionally learn in law school don't necessarily translate directly to the skills that you need day one on the job in a leadership capacity. The Elon Law Leadership Program is really intended to work with students so that by the time they finish their careers here at Elon Law, they're prepared to assume leadership roles in the profession.
I found the leadership program to be very important at Elon because it allows you not only to think in how you can serve your client, but also how can you serve your community.
And I felt like a leadership education would help to set me apart in the future, and it would give me tools to not only be a good lawyer, but to be a community servant, which I think is important when you're a lawyer.
The leadership program, as well as the strong legal education here, have already equipped me essentially to become actively involved and to give back and to figure out what problems exist in this community and how can I become an effective resource to help solve those problems.
We want to provide support and helping hands to them to learn and to grow and to get better while they're here. And frankly, we're hoping that we'll be able to give them a bit of an advantage, a bit of an edge, if you will, a bit of a head start as they go out into their careers, so they can be able to say, I know the law, I know something about leadership, I know what it means to be on a team, I know something about working with clients, and I've had some hands-on training in these areas, and so I'm prepared and I'm ready to go.
I think it's been a great process, and I believe it will show as these students begin to move out into the world and become great leaders.
You know, the question of leaders, are leaders born or are they made? People with leadership potential are born. And so what Elon is doing is giving the students the benefit of exposure to people who have studied leadership.
Lawyers have this particular obligation to get out into the world and to help us solve some of these great challenges that we have. And what we're trying to do at Elon Law School is to reinvigorate the profession's notion of its obligation to get back into the fray.
These graduates will be leaders, whether they want to or not, whether they expect to or not. The world looks to lawyers, more so, I think, than any other profession, to provide that kind of leadership. Certainly, we've always got to be sure that we are training lawyers who are very, very smart, who understand the doctrines and the discipline. But the world is changing, and we really need people who can go beyond the technical sophistication, the technical mastery, and to be able to galvanize communities to work together, who can work in groups with other people, particularly diverse populations. I think this leadership program is going to become a signature program for this law school, for this university, and I think it's also going to become a model for other law schools across the country.